made a series of quite elaborate works, mainly in your apartment, I remember visiting actually, you were working on this small desk.
Really detailed.
Yeah. I mean, I know that you're interested in creation of stories, various narratives, collective, I suppose, cultural narratives, and I think you managed to discover some, more popular narratives during your stay in Tokyo. Maybe you can just talk briefly about this in relation to some of the new works you made in Tokyo.
The work that is displayed here at the Hara Museum is called Remembering Hachiko, and like you mentioned, I was looking for creation myths and origin myths, like really, myths that talk about how natural phenomena works and how the world came to be, and stories about that. So going really back to all those stories. But as I mentioned, as I was talking earlier, I couldn't really find some of those texts because a lot of it was in Japanese. So Hachiko was kind of a contemporary story, So it's kind of like a urban legend. It comes from a very personal experience, and I guess that's why it's moving, and people want to remember it. And so I found that also indicated how people want to remember certain things, like, for example, the Hachiko statue itself, I think, was also melted during the World War II, and again, re-erected and things like that. So yeah, that story was not so much an origin myth, which I normally look for. So yeah.
And did you come to that work through the actual bronze sculpture?
Yes.
You saw it at the Shibuya station?
I think I had heard of Hachiko before, but I didn't realize there was an actual statue in one of the most central stations in Tokyo. So that was kind of a surprise as well, but really good for me as well, exciting for me. But going back to origin stories also, it's not that I'm interested in looking at myths just for the sake of looking at it, but I started looking at myths for my last, for the body of work before I came to AIT, which was War with the Stars. Also because we don't have a written script in where I come from. It's kind of a restricted area in the Eastern Himalayas. And the only way I could access that kind of history without remembering everything that my grandparents or somebody told me was to read it in translation in English from an anthropologist, Barrier Alvin, who kind of traveled a lot in the Northeast and in Central India, and ended up living in Shillong. So it's through this text. So it's a kind of, that's where my interest in myths and all come from actually. So
it's not like an officially written history, but it's written by an academic.
Yeah, academic also, because he was actually a missionary and he had come to India. But while traveling to all the, what do you call, tribal area, I guess you can say, maybe something changed in his mind also. And he became ethnographic, someone who records folk tales and stories and things. So he actually went to all the villages. There are names of even where my grandparents are from, and then he would just collect snippets as he recorded it. So it's not always full, from beginning to end. So sometimes it's just like snippets, like someone would informally tell, in the village they would tell it, and he would record it as it is. Sometimes, many times without ending, where it would just end with, we don't remember the rest.
When did this happen? Late 19th century?
Yeah, actually, I think 50s. It was published in the 60s, 70s, so it's not so late. Yeah, but it's not so far back also actually.
Sounds a bit like Lafcadio in the Japanese case, when he's like Irish, British guy.
Okay.
Marries Japanese. Yeah. He's basically writing about folk myths and legends in Japan in English. It's kind of interesting.
Talking about the other sculpture that you made in Tokyo was titled Nebi and Yomi, and it was about this connecting
there are similarities everywhere you go in different cultures, like, similar kind of motives and patterns and things like that. So the similarity was only in the word, and Nelly, which is my friend's tribe's word for, a place for the afterlife, and where life continues, And I think even in Japan it was Yomi, so I like the way it sounded even when you say it, so Nelly and Yomi. And then the peaks came together, so I thought, I would name the peak Nelly and Yomi. And so that's where the title actually came from.
And I also remember for both of the sculptures, you used many strings. Threads. Coming up from your drawings. And then I remember you were inspired from the electric wires in Tokyo. So did you find the beauty out of that shape, or what inspired you to use that?
More than beauty, I think it's just kind of a contradiction because, as you walk in Tokyo also, all the cables, and I've seen that in India. In India you have poles with many cables. I don't know why that is. Maybe they have not changed it and they keep adding more and more, but I didn't expect to see it here. So it's kind of contrast because, Tokyo being a modern city, it's very flat and, organized, and then you have these wires going through, which is kind of chaotic, but it's also kind of a trace of it's the city's history, I guess, and layout or something. Yeah. But in the Hachiko, the thread is, I think, takes another meaning. I mean, kind of not meaning, but it could be interpreted as something else, with the dog being there and the heel being more, like there are more lines on it. So it's like a, fur, like animal, like, animal, like coat, like hair down. So I guess it could be suggested with like hair, bodily hair, animal spirit, I don't know.
Were there any places in Tokyo which you just really became alive, revisited, or became like a place you enjoyed going?
Yeah, I think I discovered many of those places right at the end, sadly. So maybe this time when I'm back, I can visit those places, like the parks, for example. Like living in Utah, I didn't realize, how close the park was till quite late, like halfway through the residency, and I was like regretting a little bit. Maybe I should have made a routine to go there, things like that. So I enjoyed the parks and things like that. Shibuya, of course, it's it's just to get away also sometimes. So there are places, but afterwards it gets too much. So I enjoyed the parks, I think, the most. And discovering that there are so many actually, and some of them are also pretty good, I think. But still, like we don't have the same trees, for example, in India. So yeah, it's kind of it's a big experience when you see and see that.
I remember, like, you were visiting in theaters with Florencia, like Kabuki,
Yeah.
So the costumes that you use, or the movement of the actors, or how they make stage, do these kind of things affect the work as well? Or is it inspiring for you?
Watching the plays was definitely inspiring because, but I don't think it was directly influenced the work or anything like that. But just seeing it itself, because you have ideas of Japan, before coming here, because we're reading about it, seeing all the wood block is very popular, and so many prints and books all of those. So that's something we are always seeing. And even about the Japanese aesthetics, we hear about it, but to actually see it in a theater, the slowness and the steps, and how if there's a cut, this thing. I mean, to see all of that again, that's something else altogether. Sometimes you can't, put your finger on it exactly, what you are seeing and how it's affecting you, but it's lodged in your mind somewhere, and it does something. I don't know how, but
Did you know? Sorry, I was wondering if you developed any kind of routine routine or discipline? Because I think it was your first time to visit Tokyo. I think it can be quite an overwhelming city, just information-wise. So I wonder if you developed any strategies to cope with it, if you needed to, like taking pictures or writing a diary or sketching every day. Did you find you developed some discipline?
I think it was kind of, I don't want to use the word experimental, but almost like that. So I kind of wanted to keep that time open and not think about it too much, control it in any way. So yeah, so I didn't have any kind of routine whatsoever. So I think all my routine for however many years is just tossed up in the air. I think that's what happened.
And each day you just took it as it came.
Yeah, and because for me the decade is like a trace, even if it's the work is the way it is, it's the works I made here also. It's not the way I made works before coming here, So, and it's not the work I made after. It's just the work that came about in those 3 months. And I think I didn't want to, construct it too much in any way, and just let it be, even if it becomes small. Because before my works were in really large scroll, it's about 5 feet, and it's a large scroll of paper. So this again, it became small. I didn't think too much because it's a residency space, you're supposed to kind of let things just flow, I guess. So I didn't have any routine whatsoever. So yeah. So I didn't have a strategy to survive. So I almost survived maybe, or I really died.